Did Jamaican music and the Rastafari movement have an impact on you growing up?
Oh, definitely. As an African kid growing up, or as, anywhere in the world, African kid growing up in the Caribbean or in America or in Europe or back in the continent, reggae music was something that also elevated us, in a way that hip hop, Afrobeat, salsa did in South America, samba, and all this wonderful art that we've created as African people due to our oppression in everywhere we found ourselves in the world. Reggae music is, you can hear it, is that sound of our oppression in isolation. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's the truth. Because the Caribbean is they're still far from everybody there, just isolated and, and the blues, in America that has given birth to everything that has come here. It's also from that oppression, the pain, to have so little in the midst of many. Oh, it's the blues. You are an Afrobeat, to range in your own land. Like, I will not have this in my own land, and everything that we've done has stemmed from, our relationship with this new world that has tried to remove us from our humanity and diminish us, from the status of human into these things that can be used to portray or embellish other people's stories. Understand? This thing that is incapable of creating its own story or its own thing, but is willing to embellish others, and that has not really grown or matured. And we are talking to the oldest people that ever lived, the most mature, the most ancient, the most ancestral, And so for me, our music is not just entertainment, because I understand it to that deepest extent. And that's why for me it's a real downer when our music is only used in the mainstream as a form of escapism, when its strongest attribute is engagement.
Are there any artists from those times that really give you a vibe? Reggae artists?
Peter Tosh, that's the man. I mean, many people, confuse them for social justice warriors. Like my dad, Peter Tosh, they are not social justice warriors. These are freedom fighters. Music was for them a weapon to bring freedom to this world, the ultimate struggle of humanity. And you often find out that in the fight for freedom, you do a lot of unjustifiable things. That's just the truth, The same goes for Che Guevara, Many people criticizing for his actions in Cuba post the, but in the establishment of freedom and this thing, I mean, it's just what it is. I believe that the two fights are a different field. You either want to be for justice, you are a social justice crusader, or you are a freedom fighter, especially for African people, because we're in such a situation in the world that, as Malcolm X said, is by any means necessary.
I just want to, you brought up a brilliant point, right? I believe because we have a lot of people have the Christian mindset, they believe that they can fight this battle with a moral approach. And the people that they're going against is, in our reality, that's what it comes down to. That's why when you behave in a certain manner, it's like, why are you doing this, even though you're doing it for your freedom?
Yeah, because I also believe that, the people that oppress us in this world also need saving. The destruction of oppression, or the tearing down of the ability of the oppressor to oppress, regardless of what it is, even if it means you throw him in a jail cell indefinitely with no trial, does that mean you are oppressing him, or you are removing him from the ability that he has shown for such a long time to possess, which is the ability to oppress, to dominate, to destroy, to extract, to take away from those that need and give to those that have more than they need? These are questions that we have to ask ourselves as African people. Why are we happy to celebrate Columbus Day in the United States, we Europeans? but we criticize African freedom fighters for stepping on someone's toes. But you hear celebrating Columbus Day, genocidal maniac who killed tens of millions of indigenous people for the benefit of his people. These contradictions amongst African people, for me, is kind of weird that we, also African people here in my country too, we have Armed Forces Remembrance Day. I say to my people all the time, tell me one of our freedoms that was secured for you by the African or Nigerian armed forces. Everything that we have achieved as African people in terms of our freedom and standing in this world has been by going against our military. But yet we want to celebrate Armed Forces Day. For what purpose? Because we've been celebrating oppression for the powerful has been normalized in the mindset of the people. It doesn't have to do with Christianity or Islam, really. Even though they are pacifist religions to a certain extent for African people, I believe that it is just that we are also programmed through education, right, to align with the elites, to believe that might is right, So even here in America, they can do the armed forces, whatever, Veterans Day, and African Americans are out here, supporting the troops that go all over the world, killing black people and brown people and putting down black African revolutionary movement and African resistance globally, So it is not just from the religious perspective that this has happened. It has also happened because we've gone through the oppressors' education. The elites who are the oppressors of society. And that's why I think Paulo Freire did a great job in the pedagogy of the oppressed, at least explaining that part that we are oppressor and oppressed at the same time because we have been educated by our oppressors. So we carry their argument. We live their arguments, so that's why it is easy for people to contradict themselves in this way.
And speaking about education, how's the Nigerian education school system?
Oh, wow. The Nigerian educational system is quite sinister. It is sinister in the sense that, it is very white, but it's black-owned. This is one of the arguments I always like having with my brothers when I'm here, and I tell them, because there are many African Americans, or rather many Africans in America, because this African American thing is an oxymoron. Africans in America argue that they don't get loans from the banks because they are white. That the cops kill them because they are white. And the schools are against them and because they are white. I'm like, hold my beer. Let's go to Lagos. All the banks in my country are black. You still can't get a loan. All the schools are black and you're still taught white information. All the cops are black and they still kill us every day. In fact, no white man has ever been shot in Lagos by a police officer.
But your thing is an elitist vibe, right?
What did you say?
Your thing is an elitist vibe.
No, it's an institutional thing. The institution of banking, that word institution for me means exclude Africans. Anywhere you find the word institution, it means exclude Africans. Academia in itself means exclusion. So when you now add institution, we exclusion of Africans. So now we are excluding not only Africans, but African information. So when you go to, for example, we are taught that Mungo Park discovered River Niger. I see black people, this is in Africa, they are teaching me as African kids that this Englishman has come from America to discover this river we bathe in, wash our clothes in, swim in. For centuries, we didn't even know. Our ancestors are so stupid. They didn't know they were in front of a river. Mungo Park had to come from England to say, listen, Africans, this is a river. Water that flows. So the education is the same because whatever it is that's institutionalized in this world or except has gone through a Pan-Africanist revolutionary process to be reclaimed for African people is there to remove us from ourselves one way or the other.